Walk into a Rolex boutique today with enough money to buy almost any watch in the display, and there's a surprising chance you'll walk out wearing nothing at all. Not because you can't afford the watch. Not because the model has been discontinued. Simply because the salesperson tells you there isn't one available. On the surface, it makes no sense. Businesses are supposed to sell products to customers who are ready to buy them. Rolex often appears to do the opposite. Yet this apparent contradiction has helped transform the company into one of the most respected luxury brands in the world. People don't just purchase Rolex watches anymore. They pursue them. Some buyers spend years building relationships with authorized dealers. Others willingly pay thousands above retail price just to avoid the wait. For many, finally receiving the call that their watch has arrived feels almost as rewarding as owning it. So why would a company make buying its products so difficult? The answer isn't simply about limited production or luxury branding. It traces back more than a century to a philosophy that valued reputation over rapid growth, and it eventually turned patience into one of Rolex's greatest competitive advantages. In 1905, a young businessman named Hans Wilsdorf was convinced of something that many people dismissed. At the time, pocket watches dominated the market. Wristwatches already existed, but they were often viewed as fragile accessories rather than serious instruments for keeping time. Hans believed that perception would eventually change. His ambition wasn't merely to design elegant watches. He wanted to create wristwatches that people could trust every single day. Precision, durability, and reliability became the company's guiding principles long before luxury became its defining image. When Rolex introduced one of the world's first waterproof wristwatches, the Oyster, it didn't rely on bold advertising claims to convince customers. Instead, it demonstrated the watch in the real world. In 1927, swimmer Mercedes Gleitze crossed the English Channel while wearing a Rolex Oyster. After spending hours in freezing water, the watch continued running perfectly. That achievement became one of the most memorable demonstrations in luxury marketing. Rolex wasn't asking people to believe its promises. It was giving them proof. Over the decades that followed, the company repeatedly associated itself with explorers, mountaineers, divers, pilots, scientists, and athletes. When expeditions reached Mount Everest, Rolex was present. When professional divers explored extreme depths, Rolex was there too. Rather than building its image around glamour alone, Rolex tied its reputation to accomplishment. Owning one gradually came to symbolize achievement instead of simple wealth. Years later, that distinction would prove incredibly valuable. As luxury brands expanded internationally, many followed the same strategy. Increase production, open more stores, sell to as many customers as possible. Greater availability meant greater revenue. Rolex deliberately resisted that approach. Instead of chasing maximum sales, it focused on protecting something far more difficult to build: precision. That decision reflected a powerful psychological principle: scarcity. People naturally assign greater value to things that seem difficult to obtain. The harder something is to get, the more desirable it often becomes. Rolex understood this dynamic remarkably well. Rather than producing unlimited quantities of every popular model, the company carefully balanced production with long-term brand positioning. As demand for certain models grew faster than availability, some watches became increasingly difficult to purchase. Many industry observers believe this exclusivity strengthened Rolex's appeal, although Rolex has never officially stated that waiting lists themselves are a deliberate marketing strategy. For many customers, the waiting list became more than an inconvenience. Over time, it became part of the ownership experience, even if that wasn't necessarily Rolex's stated objective. Buying a Rolex was no longer just about having enough money. It suggested access, patience, relationships, status. The purchase itself began to feel like an accomplishment rather than an ordinary transaction. And once customers start believing that something is genuinely difficult to obtain, demand often becomes even stronger. People don't only want the product. They also want what it represents. Economists describe this as perceived scarcity. Luxury brands recognize it as positioning. Few companies have applied it as consistently or as successfully as Rolex. Then something unexpected happened. As demand continued to grow, the waiting lists created an entirely new economy around Rolex watches. The resale market. Buyers who managed to purchase sought-after models soon realized they could sell them almost immediately for thousands, sometimes even tens of thousands, more than the original retail price. Think about how unusual that is. Most products begin losing value the moment you buy them. Cars depreciate, electronics become outdated, fashion trends come and go. Yet certain Rolex models followed a completely different path. A watch could be worn for years and still sell for more than it originally cost. That fundamentally changed the way many people viewed the brand. Some customers were purchasing a lifelong timepiece. Others saw a financial asset. Many simply didn't want to miss the opportunity altogether. As interest grew, availability became even tighter. Ironically, the harder a Rolex became to obtain, the stronger its appeal seemed to become. Rolex has never officially promised that its watches are investments. The company doesn't advertise future resale values or encourage people to buy its products for profit. Instead, it stays focused on what it has always done, producing exceptionally well-made watches while maintaining careful control over supply. Everything else is driven by the market. When demand consistently outpaces availability, prices naturally rise. That creates something every luxury company hopes for: customers who don't regret their purchase. Instead, many feel fortunate they secured one at retail price. That feeling reinforces the brand in a remarkably powerful way. Satisfied owners become enthusiastic ambassadors, not because they're paid to promote Rolex, but because they're genuinely proud of owning one. Every conversation, every photograph, every social media post, every recommendation, they all strengthen Rolex's reputation without the company having to say a word. Of course, scarcity alone would never be enough. A product has to justify the excitement surrounding it. Rolex invests enormous resources into manufacturing, producing nearly every critical component in-house. From developing specialized metals to assembling intricate movements, testing accuracy, and conducting final inspections, the company maintains tight control over the entire process. Its watches are engineered to last for decades. Many eventually become family heirlooms, passed from one generation to the next. That level of durability reinforces the idea that a Rolex isn't simply another luxury purchase. It's something designed to accompany a lifetime of memories. This enduring reputation is one of the biggest reasons demand remains so resilient. People trust the product because Rolex has spent generations earning that trust through consistent quality rather than short-term marketing promises. Another factor that protects the brand is something that's easy to overlook. While many luxury companies release dramatically redesigned collections every year, Rolex prefers gradual evolution. Its most recognizable models, the Submariner, Daytona, GMT Master II, and Datejust, have remained instantly identifiable for decades. The changes are usually modest: a more refined movement, an improved bracelet, a stronger clasp, incremental improvements instead of complete reinventions. From a marketing perspective, that consistency is incredibly valuable. A Rolex purchased 20 years ago still looks unmistakably like a Rolex today. Owners rarely feel their watch has become obsolete because a newer version appeared. Rather than encouraging constant replacement, Rolex reinforces the idea that timeless design never goes out of style. And timeless products tend to retain timeless value. Then there's the buying experience itself. Many people assume purchasing a Rolex is simply a matter of visiting a boutique with enough money. In reality, authorized dealers receive limited allocations of many popular models and manage their distribution according to their own allocation processes and customer relationships. Supply is limited. Purchase history often matters. Relationships can matter too. Some customers receive the long-awaited phone call relatively quickly. Others spend months, or even years, waiting. That anticipation creates another powerful psychological effect. The longer people invest emotionally in obtaining something, the more meaningful it often becomes once they finally have it. Receiving the call that your watch has arrived feels less like completing a purchase and more like reaching a milestone. For luxury brands, experiences can be just as valuable as products. Rolex has understood that for decades. Naturally, this approach also attracts criticism. Many buyers find the waiting lists frustrating. Others argue that soaring resale prices have pushed certain models far beyond what genuine enthusiasts can reasonably afford. Some collectors believe authorized dealers favor repeat clients or their wealthiest customers. Whether those criticisms are entirely fair or not, they reveal something important. People care deeply about the brand. Very few products generate this level of discussion year after year. And very few companies occupy such a central place in conversations about luxury. Attention has value. Even disagreement keeps a brand relevant. Perhaps the biggest lesson from Rolex has very little to do with watches. It's about business itself. Many companies believe growth means producing more, selling more, and reaching as many customers as possible. Rolex demonstrates a very different philosophy. Protect your reputation. Never compromise on quality. Expand carefully. Create something people genuinely aspire to own. Scarcity without quality eventually loses its power. But when exceptional craftsmanship is combined with thoughtful scarcity, demand can endure for generations. That balance is what Rolex has spent more than a century perfecting. Today, countless companies attempt to replicate parts of this formula. Sneaker brands launch limited releases. Luxury handbag makers create waiting lists. High-end automakers produce exclusive editions. Many succeed for a while. Few achieve what Rolex has. Because scarcity alone isn't the secret. It has to be supported by decades of consistency, craftsmanship, and trust. Those qualities can't be manufactured overnight. So why does Rolex make customers wait for watches they can already afford? Because, from Rolex's perspective, maintaining long-term quality, careful production, and brand reputation appears to take priority over maximizing short-term sales. The waiting lists are widely viewed as one consequence of that approach, although Rolex has not publicly described them as a deliberate marketing strategy. Every hard-to-find watch reinforces the perception of exclusivity. Every waiting customer reflects the reality that demand for many models continues to exceed available supply. Every satisfied owner adds another layer to the company's reputation. Over time, those small moments have helped transform Rolex into one of the world's most respected luxury brands. In the end, Rolex isn't just selling precision engineering. It isn't simply selling watches. It's selling achievement, recognition, belonging, and the enduring belief that the most valuable things in life are rarely the easiest to obtain. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.